Hello students, as we started lesson 5, the happy prince of moments, we have seen in the starting that there is a statue of the happy prince which was placed on a very tall column high above the city, and this statue was having covering of fine gold. His eyes were made of sapphires, and he was also having a big ruby on his sword hilt. So one night one swallow bird, it came to the city, and he was flying here and there in search of a place to settle down to spend the night, because he was going to Egypt, as his friends they have already gone. And he found this statue a better place to stay to spend the night. He settled down at the feet of the happy prince, and when he was about to sleep, he found that a drop of water fell on him. Okay, and he thought that it was raining. He thought, what is the use of taking shelter of this statue if it cannot put the rain off? And he just decided to fly away. At the same time, another drop, one more drop, third drop fell on him, and then he looked up and found that it was not raining, but tears were coming down from the eyes of the happy prince. Then he asked him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am the happy prince." The swallow bird asked the prince who was he. Then he said that he is the happy prince. "Why are you weeping?" Then asked the swallow. "You have quite drenched me." Drenched mean made wet. So he said, "Then why are you crying? Why are you shedding tears? You made me wet also." Okay, when I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue, "I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter." Then the happy prince told that when he was alive, and he was having a human heart, he was living in a palace, and he was not known to the tears. He was not known what are tears, because he was living his life happily there, and tears were not allowed to enter the palace. "My courtiers called me the happy prince, and happy indeed I was." Courtiers mean that ministers of the court. He said his courtiers, ministers were, they called him happy prince, and he was actually happy. "So I lived, and so I died." So he lived his life happily and died happily also. "And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the miseries of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep." And he is telling that when he died, his courtiers or the people, they made a statue and placed this on a high place, from where he is able to see the ugliness, you can say that, badness, and all the miseries of the city, sorrows of the city. "And though my heart is made of lead," and his heart is made of lead is kind of metal, "I cannot choose but weep." He is not able to do anything, but he can only cry. "What, is he not solid gold?" said the swallow to himself. Then swallow, he said to himself, "Okay, it means this statue is not made of solid gold." He was too polite to make any personal remarks, but he was quite polite, so he didn't make any personal remark. He didn't say anything. Then the happy prince continued. "Far away," continued the statue in a low musical voice. Musical voice mean in a very soft voice. The happy prince continued, "Far away in a little street, there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table." So the prince, he continued, he said, far away, at a distant place, A little street is there, and there is a poor house, and one of the windows of that house is open, and through it I am able to see a woman who was sitting on a table. Her face is thin and worn means torn out, tired. Her face is thin and tired, and she has coarse red hands. Coarse mean rough red hands, all pricked by the needle. Prick, when needle is just thrust in our skin, it make that pricking. So the needle had pricked in her hands, and for she is a seamstress, because she is a woman tailor, seamstress. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the Queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. So she, that seamstress, that woman tailor, she was embroidering flowers. She was making flowers with the thread and needle on the gown of the Queen, which gown she was going to wear in the next party in the court. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. And in that room where this woman, she was sitting and doing her needlework, in a bed in a corner, her little boy, her little son was lying ill. Her son was suffering. He has a fever. He was suffering from fever and is asking his mother to give him oranges. And he is also asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water, so he is crying. But the mother, that seamstress, she was not having anything except water to give. That is why the boy was crying. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? Then the prince is saying, swallow, my little swallow, will you take this ruby out from my sword's hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. And he is saying that his feet were tied or fixed to the base of that column and he cannot move. So that's all for today. Rest we'll do later.